Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar. We are talking about planning and cash flow. Now, sorry, excuse me, Fleck. That's better. I feel like one of those Christmas mice sort of thing. Now, 2023, it is literally just around the corner. And a number of people I've been speaking with have, get rid of that, been a little bit, I don't know about stressed, but they suddenly realized that they really should have planned for next year because it's like, it's almost now. So what we're going to talk about today is planning, cash flow, some systems, a bit about how you get your feet under yourself and get set for a pretty strong 2023. It's particularly important this year because next year is going to be tough. I have not heard one commentator of any credibility whatsoever say that next year is going to be a boom year for anybody, right? Unless you're digging up coal. All right. For us in small business land, it is going to be a year where you've got to be focused. You will need to be, not that we're not already focused and committed, but you really need to be honed in on what you want to do, how you're going to do it, and what the outcome is going to look like. So let's talk about that, okay? We've got an hour here, a bit less. I'm going to dive into a little bit of a chat. And because I do, for anybody who's been to any of my workshops, I do tend to wander around. So we're going to follow the slides a little bit. I can go off on tangents occasionally, but we always do come back. Now, here's the thing. Look, yeah, that's right. What do you want to do next year? Have you actually sat down and written down? I really do not mean sit around with a cup of coffee and talk with your business partners or your husband or your wife, your partner or your kids or whatever about, or your staff about what are we going to do next year? Let's have a talk about it. I mean, have you actually sat down and planned out what you want to do next year? Okay, I've got 5 things on the screen there. Your sales targets, the potential customers you want to reach out to. What about your actual customers? What are you going to be doing there with them? Okay, what about the day-to-day stuff you need to do and how are you going to pay for all that? All right, what's the funding going to look like to drive that little machine that you happen to own? And what we're going to go through today, we're actually kind of going to go, I think we're going to start in the middle, okay, just for something different, okay, because to be honest, the least important of all these, okay, and this is going to sound really weird, okay, but the one that we don't really need to think about until the end is sales targets, right? Doesn't matter right now, doesn't matter at all, okay? We're going to start in the middle dealing with customers. Okay. Now, here's the thing about this time of year, right? If you're a bit excited, if you're a bit stressed, if you're feeling overloaded, which we all cop because we have so much to do and so little time to do it before Australia embarks on its national pastime called holidays and shuts down, right? If that's where you're at, don't panic. That's normal. Okay. Very cool. No dramas. If you're sitting here thinking, hey, I've got it all under control, it's all planned out, mapped out, it's going to be a piece of cake, we need to talk. All right. Give me a phone call. Like, seriously, bring me. We need to have a chat because you're missing something. I'll guarantee you. All right, so don't panic. And the system's there to make your life a bit easier and to help you get your head around and stay in charge of your business, all right, and not have your business in charge of what you're doing. Now, first up, my favorite, okay, that sound you heard was my little hobby horse coming out of the stable for a run. Contact relationship management systems or customer relationship management systems, CRMs, whatever you turn that into, they all do the same thing. Now, what do they do, you ask? Great question. Thank you for asking. Okay, CRMs. This is like your little black book, your little contact database on steroids. Okay, it's all pumped up, muscled up, ready to make you a little powerful business person rather than somebody who really doesn't know who you've been speaking to and where the conversations are up to. Now, for those of you who haven't been to one of my previous workshops on CRMs, I do a whole hour on this stuff. So we're going to condense it into about 10 minutes. Now, CRMs, all of your contacts. Okay, and I don't just mean your customers. That's why, I mean, a lot of people call these things customer relationship management. Rubbish. Okay, that is just selling them short. They are contacts, all your customers, potential customers, your suppliers, your associates in business. Okay, kind of like your accountants and stuff, their suppliers, people you know that you just want to stay in touch with. They are all in your CRM, all in that database for you to reach out to in various ways, shapes, and forms, whether you are putting them onto a newsletter database, which you send out every week, fortnight, day, month, whether it's simply a case of a mail out whenever something new happens that you think they might be interested in. You've got a new product, you're putting on a sale, you want to put on a VIP night you'd like to invite them to. What you've got is a system that enables you to have everybody in one spot. You can deal with them in whichever combination you see fit. You can track those conversations. You can know who's reading your emails, who's checking out your text, who's clicking through on the links you've put in there to get so they can get more information, who's engaged with what you've got to say. And that's really what it boils down to, is with all the people you know, who is engaged with what you have to talk about. They also enable you to build landing pages, and which is essentially a one-page website or a two-page website. Okay, people can jump on there. You've got one or two specific things to say. They can then register for a newsletter. They can book into an event. They can buy something specific. They can simply make an appointment with you. But it's a little one-pager which is set up for a specific purpose for people, part of your sales funnel. Okay. Now, why do you need one? Awesome question. You need one because you just need to have that flexibility. You've got to be able to see all of your contacts in one spot. Okay. Now, I've got some friends in business who aren't clients of mine. They're just friends. I've known them for years, and they don't run this sort of system at all because they have 4 or 5 key clients, okay, who provide about 90% of their cash flow. They chat to them on the phone generally every month about something. These guys sometimes have major shutdowns where they come in, where my friends go in and do the maintenance and replace bits and pieces. And then they have a whole lot of fringe, walk in the door, ring up, order, account customers, and they just top up the rest of the turnover. That's like drinking silver in the grand scheme of things because these guys operate a pretty solid business. And for them, they went, look, it's a layer of complexity they don't really need. That business is the only business I've ever seen where I actually felt I couldn't put up a legitimate argument to diversify what they're doing and to put in place a CRM so they can actually do more, because they're operating close to capacity, they're making good money, they're very comfortable, and away they go. But if you're not at that point, if you're sitting there thinking, okay, 2023, and this is what we're all talking about today, okay, it's all going to come back to 2023. Okay, 2023, going to be a scary, rough year. I need to make sure that my existing customers stay sticky, that they keep on being my customer. So I need to be able to stay in touch with them, let them know about the really cool things we're doing next year, the new products that are coming out, the new services we're offering, some VIP nights, some meet the star, whatever we're doing to keep them sticky, we've got to be able to tell them about that. We want to know that they're engaged with us, okay? And we want to build the business because costs are going up. We've got to have more revenue. We've got to make more money or we'll go broke. So we need a way of reaching out to new people, engaging with them, and again, seeing how effective that engagement is and bringing that through and driving sales out of that. Okay? Your CRM is a key plank in that strategy. Okay, so if you're writing anything down today, you're sitting there at home in the comfort of your own home office, watching the recording later on, just pencil it in. CRM, if you don't have one, you need one. Okay, now what options are there? Oh, there's only about 6.5 million possible CRMs, right? They are like fleas on a street dog everywhere. Okay, top of my head, and this list is not exhaustive. You've got HubSpot, you've got Monday.com, you've got ClickUp has a CRM in it, you've got Zoho has a CRM in it. Okay, you've got Salesforce, big CRM, solid bit of gear. Oh my goodness, there are a million of them. Okay, now here's the thing with them. You can get some free cut down versions to run with if you're a small micro type business and you don't think you need the whole enchilada, or you can spend thousands of dollars or tens of thousands of dollars a month once you scale up and you need that level of functionality and muscle in the back end of your business. Okay, now which one do I recommend? Great question. Thank you for asking. It depends, actually. It really depends on where you're at, what sort of functionality you think you need or want. Also, how much money you want to invest. Now, let's just pause there for 1 second. You've been in my workshops previously, you've worked with me privately. I will very rarely use the word cost or expense. What I will use a word a lot is invest, because when you're putting in place something like a CRM or a task management system or staff or equipment, you are actually investing in your business. And therefore, when you do that, you should be thinking in the back of your mind, okay, what's the return on my investment? That should be one of the key parts of your decision making every time you do something in your business is what's the return on investment here? Okay, it's not an expense, it's an investment. What's the return? What do we get for our money? Okay. With like, well, let's pick on HubSpot, for example. Now, disclaimer, if you like, I use HubSpot and I recommend that to a lot of my micro clients and my smaller clients, the free version I'm talking about, sorry, because it gives me an absolute ton of functionality for no money whatsoever. All I'm paying, I'm advertising HubSpot every time I use it because all the emails go out saying, hey, you can have free email with HubSpot. The landing page has, you can create free landing pages. The forms have, you can create free forms. It's very subtle. It's just a little baby ad from HubSpot saying, hey, this guy uses HubSpot. You come and play. We're pretty cool. All right? And they are. Don't make no mistake. Very powerful, even at the free version. It's one of the, in terms of functionality, it's one of the better free versions in the market, right, by a mile. MailChimp is another one that's kind of catching up. Not that, the new interface is cute, but still HubSpot kills them. And what that enables me to do is, as I said before, I can shoot out a ton of emails to clients. In fact, if I just check the participant list, yep, I can guarantee you that people here today have actually got an email from me that has been driven out of HubSpot. And I'll know, because this is what CRMs do for you, I will know if you've opened up the email, if you've clicked on any of the links in the email, how many times you've opened the email, what device. I'll get a lot of data back on how you engaged with me. Okay. And from a businessman's point of view, from my side of the desk, that's important, because if I'm putting on an event and I send out 400 emails, okay, in one bulk hit, okay, so it's one big slot, out it goes, 400 emails, and I would love to have, out of the 400, I'd love to have 20 people come to my event. That'd be great. That's the target number. Then when I send that email out, the people I'm going to call, I'm going to look at the booking and say, okay, I've got 5 people who booked. I want another 15. Let's look at the people who are most engaged, who has opened it up more than once, who has clicked on the links I've got in the email. Let's start there. We'll make some phone calls and say, hey guys, all right, we noticed that you're having a bit of a look at what we're up to, but you haven't registered yet. Do you want to come along? Can I put you in there now? You can chase that up with the people who are actually looking at what you're doing. So when you've got limited time, which we all have, you can focus it on the areas with the people who are most engaged, and you get that feedback from your CRM. If you're sending out newsletters, okay, and you want to see who's actually reading your newsletter, then it's a great way of tracking who's opening them up and who's looking into them. Another example of why these are a very cool way of measuring the effectiveness of your outreach. I sent out one, oh my goodness, 2 months ago that had 3 links in it to exactly the same registration page, but they were all worded differently. And what I wanted to see was which language triggered the most response. What words were people most responsive to when it came to, I should really click on this button and see what he's up to this time because he's a crazy guy. Okay, what the hell is he doing? Okay, which button? And out of that, and the results were very, very interesting. Okay, the wordage, the language used really did make a difference in relation to which buttons got clicked on the most. I was actually surprised at the differential. I thought, there'd be much of a muchness, but no, there was one set of words that triggered responses from people and another set of words that everybody pretty much ignored. And it went to exactly the same page. So that sort of feedback, and that's free market research. Honestly, I don't have to pay for it. I just shot the email out, boom, done. Let's have a look at the results. What do real life people, like people I've engaged with who know me, who come to my workshops, what do they react to in terms of marketing language? If I'm talking to people who I want to bring on board, what words should I use? Okay, how should I frame my messages? And that's where a CRM can provide that real left of field stuff for you when it shows you engagement, what works and what is less successful. I'm not saying it didn't work. I'm just saying it's not as successful. So we'll use other wordage. Okay. So if you haven't got one of these in your business now, shoot me an email. My contact details will be on the last slide today, by the way, for everybody. All right, shoot me a note and we'll have a chat about where you're at, what you want to do, like what are we trying to achieve, and how we're going to go about that. Okay. So Number one plank in your business in terms of planning for next year is you need a CRM. Okay. And if you have one already, and I know we've got a couple of people on board now who do have them, then by all means get it fired up. If you don't think you're using it to its fullest potential, again, shoot me an email, give me a call, and work through how that's going to happen. Okay. Now, so while I've all got you here, even though this is a webinar, hang on a second. All right. If you have a question at any stage, just ask, okay? Just fire up. Please don't put it in the chat because I literally will not see it, okay? It's like 10 minutes later and the moment's gone. So, yeah, we've got a question, just fire away. No problems at all. Now, next plank in your little platform for 2023 success, a task management system. Right? Now, again, it's not super sexy. It's not hard to operate. It's literally a diary on steroids. Okay, it'll enable you to plan out your work week, month, year. It'll keep tasks on track. It'll show you when things need following up. It'll enable you to share tasks with people in your team so they can see what they have to do. They can keep track of where things are up to, and you can see what they've done and where things are up to. So you don't miss opportunities. You can have them set up so that each client card, it's like if you've used Kanban boards, right? That's it. They all use Kanban board interfaces. Some of them also have calendar and list interfaces, but all the free basic ones, it's a Kanban board. You've essentially got a stack of cards on a whiteboard that you can shift from left to right across columns, depending on where they are in their task, in the lifespan of their task. If you're planning 2023, the last thing you want to have happen is to lose track of where things are up to, because next year is going to be rough, okay? We're going to have to really stay focused, stay sharp, and stay on top of everything that's going on, okay? So that's why you need one, all right? And again, there's a stack of free baby versions out there that do the job, right? You don't have to spend a ton of money, right? What options are out there? Another awesome question. Okay, there is about as many task management systems as there are CRMs. At a baby version, sort of our level of business, where you've got a team of 1 to about 10, you're running maybe up to 100 or 200 customers. You've got Asana, you've got Trello, you've got Monday.com, you've got ClickUp, you've got, again, Zoho has a CRM built into it. There are a whole stack. I've actually got a workshop floating around with a list of about 20 on it. Okay, at a free version, I'll use the free version of Trello, and the only reason I use Trello, and I also use the paid for, or Business Station uses Asana, so I've got the full all singing, all dancing Asana. I also have ClickUp there, but the reason I use Trello in my business is that when I look at the screen and the way it's laid up, my brain goes, yeah, I understand that, and it works. Okay, I've also got ClickUp in place, and there's just the way it's laid out, there's a couple of buttons in a spot where I don't expect them to be. Whereas with Trello, they're where I expect them to be, so I use Trello. Right? And that's the beauty of these systems, is that you can simply trial them, have a look at them, and pick one that you relate to, that instinctively go, yeah, I can use this. Okay, now I've got a client of mine who uses ClickUp. Okay, I put her onto that, and I was sitting down with her. It must have been 5 or 6 months ago now, and she showed me what she's up to, and she had ClickUp done in the calendar display. And I looked at it and blinked, and I had never thought about doing that because I just love Kanban boards. I love seeing everything in front of me. I know where everything's up to. And she'd laid it out as a calendar because to her, that suited the way she wanted to operate. She could see what was coming up, see what she had to do each day, done and dusted, happy camper. And you know what? Happy advisor. Okay, I've got a client who is focused, and to be honest, this lady is impressive. She's done some enormous stuff in her business this year, and it works for her. Awesome. Okay. So that's the beauty of these systems, is you've got some flexibility and you've got some control, and you've got oversight on all the tasks that are coming up, and you can share those with your team so that nobody misses out, and you can make sure that people are doing what they're supposed to be doing when it's supposed to be done. Also, with most task management systems, you can attach documents to each card or each client's job. So if you've got somebody in the team who needs sales contracts, or they need copies of quotes, they don't have to go diving through multiple filing systems. They simply go to the task management system, click on the job, bring it up, and attach to the job are all the quotes, any correspondence. It's all there to pick up. Okay, awesome. Most of these will also integrate with your CRMs, so you can share data. So there's no double handling. Which reduces your error rate. And again, Everything is up to date. When you look at your business, you know what's going on. Okay. So when it comes to 2023, you're going to need the least amount of distractions possible. Task management system, cool way of staying on top of what you're doing. If you haven't got one in your business now, give me a call. If you've got one and you're not using it, for goodness sake, give me a call, okay? We need to have these in place for you. You need to have that oversight so that you have the least amount of friction possible when it comes to driving your really awesome results. Speaking of awesome results, cash flow. If I have a favorite flavor, it's cash flow. Sales are sexy, okay? Those big revenue numbers, oh my goodness, aren't they beautiful? Don't care, cash pays the bills, all right? I've actually had clients in one of my past lives go broke when they've got record sales levels, massive contracts, revenue through the roof, big team, everything's awesome. 60 days later, they're in liquidation because they didn't have any cash flow. Big clients, big bills on their side to do the jobs, clients didn't pay, suddenly it all comes to a grinding halt and a few little suppliers moving and say, pay us, we're going to wind you up. Okay, so cash flow, cash flow, cash flow. Cash is king, queen. Cash is the whole court. Okay. All right. Now, when it comes to planning out your cash flow, research, structure, and process are the keys. Okay, I put that there for a deliberate reason because they're important. You've got to understand. If I put that on the next one, there we go. Why do it? Because you've got to understand where you're going. If you don't have a roadmap for next year, how do you know if you're on track? If you try and wing it, okay, with all due respect and concern and care and love, good luck to you. Okay, it's not going to be the year where you can just wing it. Okay, plan it out. Okay, have a think about where you're going to go, where your cost base is, what you need to do as a bare minimum, what you want to achieve. Can you even do that? Do you have the resources to do that? If not, where do we get the resources? What impact does that have? This is why you do a cash flow budget. Okay, it's more than just saying, oh, well, you know, let's have a look at sales and expenses. It's about looking at the business and saying, okay, where are we at? What do we want to do? How are we going to do that? Okay, now, review and updating. You should review your cash flow budget every month. Okay, I've got one here for Adapteek, and literally, I'm literally in that thing several times a week, updating it with new client data when we bring people on board, when they pay their bills, so that when I look at it, I know the data is live and accurate. I know where we're going. I know what next year's going to look like if I do what I think I'm going to do. Okay, there's no surprises. Now, how do I do it? Oops. Let's come back. How do I do it? All right. I'm actually going to ask you guys, okay, you're all sitting there, you've all got your mics, I would hope. Oops. Hello, Victoria. Okay, so now you can all open up your microphones. So if you like, can somebody please tell me, where do you start when it comes to planning your cash flow and mapping out your cash flow for next year? And the answer is not open up Excel, Google Sheets, or numbers on your Mac. Okay, don't worry about the software. They all do pretty much the same thing. When it comes to looking at your business, where do you start? Somebody, anybody, give me an answer. Who knows where you start when it comes to planning your cash flow for next year?
Look at what you got this year.
Okay, I'll give that a half mark. And you should know better too, by the way. Somebody else, half mark. Okay, look at what you did last year. Almost. Anybody else? Don't rush me. Okay. You start with your costs. So yes, last year's almost there. Start with your cost base and think about next year. What are your costs going to be? Okay, so it's kind of a back to front way of doing it, but it's really about saying, okay, I've got rent, I've got staff to pay, I've got electricity, I've got phone, I've got insurance, all these things that go into my cash flow, map them out for the year. Okay. Now, if you like, I actually have a cash flow template, which I'm happy to share with you. If you want that, you'll get my email address at the end of the presentation. Shoot me an email and I'll flick that over to you. Now, start with your cost base. All of those costs mapped out. Think about your cost of production. For those of you who retail product or manufacture and wholesale or retail your manufactured product, have a think about your actual cost of production, the materials you bring in, any labor costs directly related to that, the machinery costs, like usage costs directly related to that, freight, all those bits and pieces. map those in. So we know what your fixed costs are. We know what the variable costs are going to be. And then we sit down and say, okay, so we know how much revenue we need to generate to keep the doors open. You've worked out your break-even point. Okay, that's the whole point of the exercise, to say how much revenue do we need to generate to break even. Awesome. Now, here's something which is not negotiable. Okay, don't even think about not doing this, please. On top of that figure, that break-even figure, put in place your salary and superannuation, right, at 10.5%. Right, whack that on top of that, because if you're operating on the basis that I just get to keep what's left over, we need to have a chat. Like, seriously, call me now. All right, that's just wrong. What we're going to do is going to put in there a wage that covers off what you do in the business. If you weren't there, how much would you have to pay somebody to do what you do? Because that figure has to go in there now, right, with super. Okay, we're running a business. It's not a hobby, boys and girls. All right, that goes in there. Now we've got an actual proper break-even point. We know how much revenue we need to generate to get where we've got to go. Cool. All right. Now, how much capacity have we got in the business to deliver that sort of revenue? How many people hours does it take? What sort of machinery have we got in place that can deliver that with our equipment? Have we got enough office space? With that dollar, what do we have to do to make that much money? Have we got the capacity in the business to do that? If we have, okay, that's a good starting point. How much excess capacity have we got? Because that will dictate how far we can push the business to start with. Okay, because then you go, okay, we've got this much capacity. We know how much revenue we've got to generate. And we actually have a target in mind. How much money do you really want to make next year? Now, I had a conversation with one of my clients the other day about this, and we set a target, which, to be absolutely honest, I kind of made up. And we looked at it and we kind of went, wow, that's, for this business, that's actually a challenging number. And the really exciting thing is now that with things that we've done is that we can see it from where we're standing. Like, we're nearly there. Very, very cool. And got the capacity to deliver it. So that's the target. We've got the capacity to deliver this number in terms of revenue. We're working up towards it. The strategies are in place. It's very exciting. So do the same thing in your business. Have a think about what it is you want to achieve. What number do you really, well, how much money do you really want to make? Okay, now there's the revenue target. We know from our costings whether we can do that or not. Now, if you can't, if you look at it and go, look, geez, you know, we're turning over $500,000 now. And, you know, everyone's pretty working. They're pretty busy. Mostly, you know, we don't really have a lot of downtime for anybody or any bits of gear, but, you know, break-even points around 450. So I'm clearing about 50 grand a year. As a return on investment in the business, that's a bit light. I really should have an after-tax of, you know, 150. So I need to take turnover from 500 to around about 800 would deliver that, according to the cash flow. When we start putting the numbers in and you're watching your variable costs change in relation to your revenue. So I need to increase my productive capacity by 60%. All right, awesome. We haven't got the people for it. We can maybe do another 10%. So I've got to find another 50%. So I've got to effectively add 50% to my production capacity. It's more people, maybe more machines, maybe cleverer machines that do more things quickly. Maybe I just need to run another shift if that's possible. Okay, so you start mapping out what it is you have to do to deliver that revenue number and add the cost of doing that into your cash flow. Then you start to think about funding. Okay, now cash flows, this is an all-day process. I could literally sit down with you in your business and we would spend an entire day mapping out how we're going to deliver an awesome 2023. Okay, it can be that complicated. Map out what happens then in the business. If I run more staff, then obviously your wages and super go up, but then so does your power cost. Right, then you've got wear and tear on the machinery. So do we have to replace them earlier, or you need more machinery? Cool. If you need more machinery, have you got the cash to pay for it? And indeed, is paying for it with cash the smartest idea? Wouldn't it be better to retain the cash for working capital and borrow the funds for that long-term investment in machinery? If so, go find yourself a great commercial finance broker. Funnily enough, I actually know a couple of them, but don't automatically go to your bank. Please, please, please get yourself a good commercial financial broker, because they will have more options for you and they'll generally have better options than your bank will offer. Okay. Check that out. Then you can say, okay, this is what we need to do. We need to start hunting. If you're looking for staff, You have my most deepest, sincerest, best wishes. It is tough finding staff right now. I get that complaint. Actually, it's a legitimate complaint from a lot of my clients is they want to grow, can't find the people to do it. So we've got to find clever ways of boosting revenue without driving everybody into the ground. Okay. And then you map it out and say, okay, that's what we're going to do. And in your cash flow, you'll have a second column next to the budget, which says actual. And we put in actual results every month so we know how we're tracking. I know it sounds like overkill. All right. I know that you've got your accounting systems, you've got all of that data on tap that shows your profitability. Most accounting systems have got a basic cash flow generator in them, so you kind of know where things are traveling. But if you do this, if you sat down outside of your accounting system and map out what you're going to do for 12 months and religiously and systematically update that data, you'll have two things, or at least two things. One, it'll keep you focused. It'll help you really map out and stay focused on what we're going to do next year. The second thing we'll do is it'll highlight as soon as things start going a bit sideways, where things are going sideways. Right? You don't have to wait for your accounting system to produce reports because your accounting system is going to generally be working on an accrual basis. Just because it says you're making a profit doesn't mean you've got that money on tap. Okay, you've got accounts outstanding, you've got bills you haven't paid. All it is an accrual numbering of the report you have to give to the tax office each year. Right? Your cash flow will show you if you've got the money to stay in business. Right? So when things start going a bit sideways, that's where it's going to be highlighted first. Okay, if your gut instinct doesn't tell you that things are a bit out of whack, cash flow will show you where things are going sideways. What it'll also show you is where things are being a little bit positive. And here's the conversation I have with some of my clients every month. Hey, what was it we said we we're going to do last month? Let's have a look at the numbers. Okay, we'll start with the numbers are boring. Let's start with them and get them out of the way. Okay, revenue up or down. If the revenue is down compared to what we wanted to achieve, well, why? Was it something that we did wrong, or was it something outside of our control? If it's something we did wrong, let's have a quick look at that and let's not do that again. If it's something that's out of our control, then okay, if we can't control it, if there's no way of mitigating that, if it's purely something we can do nothing about, ignore it. Don't stress about it. More things to worry about than that if you can't do anything about it. Let's have a look at the expenses. Oh, if revenue's up, okay, and with most of my clients it is, which is very, very cool. If revenue is up, why? Was it something we did? If so, that's very cool. Let's do that again. If it's not something we did, if it was something, again, out of our control, just one of those random one-off things that just happened, okay, well, we'll bank the money and hopefully that'll happen again. But if we can't control it, if we can't influence it, if it's nothing to do with us, we don't focus on it. We don't worry about it. Other things to focus on. Limited time, remember? You've only got 24 hours a day and there's only 7 days in a week usually. All right? Let's look at expenses. And it's the same conversation. Are there any expense blowouts? If so, was that us? Let's not do that again. If it was us and it's going to happen again, cool. How are we going to mitigate that? What are we going to do about offsetting that increase in expense? What can we do? If it wasn't us, if it was simply a blowout that we couldn't control, well, that's suboptimal, isn't it? That's not very nice. Too bad. Nothing we can do about that. We just move on and we keep doing what we're going to do. Okay. And if that's going to be an ongoing increase, then we try and mitigate that. All right. If expenses are less than what we predicted, okay, and sometimes this is a warning sign. It's not always a good thing. Why? Why are they less than what we predicted? Have we forgotten to pay somebody? Has one of our suppliers gone out of business and we're actually going to run out of a critical resource? Is it a case of we simply got a better bargain? Well done us. Let's do that again. Right? Examine everything that is out of whack. Right? Stay focused, stay sharp, and that way you're going to maximize the cash at the end of the day. Helps you plan. And this is a conversation that where possible, you want to include your team. We're talking about the costings, about driving revenue, your sales team, your people on the shop floor. Okay, how can we do this business smarter? How can we generate more revenue out of this so the doors stay open and we can afford pay increases and we can afford Christmas bonuses? Now, how are we going to do that? Okay, it's a great planning tool. It's a great staff engagement tool. Don't miss the opportunity to bring everybody along on the journey. Okay, now review and update. Like I said, every month, constantly keep an eye on it. Okay. Now, we've actually got a heap of time here. So when you're doing all of this, okay, you've got your CRM in place. You've got your task management system in place, so you know who's who in the zoo and how you're interacting with them and where it's all up to. You've mapped out a cash flow, so you've got a plan for what you want to do next year. Okay. Now, let me make one confession about cash flows just before we dive into this too deeply. When I first started off in business banking a long time ago, okay, in a galaxy far, far away, when we did cash flows then, a lot of people, myself included, went, yeah, you develop a cash flow, you write it up, and it's out of date tomorrow. It really doesn't matter. And it took me a year or so to realize that that's probably one of the dumbest things. And I've said some dumb things. It's probably one of the dumbest things I've ever said, because they are a valuable planning tool. They are an awesome management tool if you use them. Okay. And that's the one thing about these three things we've spoken about today. The number one thing is they are fantastic tools in your business if you use them. Okay. Don't put them in place and then forget about them and dust them off in 12 months and wonder why nothing went to plan. Okay. We've got to use these things. They're there for a reason. Okay. Now, here's the thing. Strategies for repeat business. Your CRM is key. Staying in touch with people, bringing them back into the fold, letting them know what's coming up. Thank you. Simply sending out thank you emails. Okay. I've done that in the past. A heap of people said, hey guys, had a great year. Thank you very much. It's been awesome working with you. I've been so impressed with what you've achieved. Yay. Looking forward to the next 12 months. And out of that, people have referred me new clients because I went, hey, actually, yeah, he has helped. I know somebody could use his help. Right. Same with you guys. Okay. You've got people who do business with you for a reason. They like you, they know you, they trust you, and you have a solution to a problem that they have, and you've got a great solution. Okay, so they do business with you. Why not thank them for that and encourage them to refer new clients to you? Okay, I've got another client of mine, gets a ton of business out of referral business. It's awesome. It's the cheapest marketing campaign in the world. All right, so don't miss the opportunity. All right. Now, the other thing that will show you when you're reviewing this is where there's constraints in your cash flow. Right? When you look at your P&L and start running some ratios on it, and then look at your cash flow and look at them side by side, you'll suddenly realize that, hey, the reason we've got no money in the bank despite really cool sales is that our collections are falling a bit behind. Okay, people aren't paying on time. Or, the revenue's coming in, everybody's paying, we've got no money because we've got too much stock on hand. Right? And that will highlight these issues for you where you can dive into the business and say, hey, there's actually a problem here. We know about it now. We can fix it now rather than it becoming a big problem in a month or 2 or 3 months' time and causing major drama. Okay? So these are very important tools to utilize. Okay. And the third big one that I love with task management systems is you can delegate tasks to people who have the capability and capacity to deliver them. And I'm not ashamed to say that in businesses that I've run, there are people in my businesses who have more capability and more capacity to deliver to clients than I have. That's why I employed them, right? They are better than me at some things. They are smarter than me at some things. So I give them those things to do because if it was on my desk, it'd get stuffed up. All right. It wouldn't happen as well as it should when I've got somebody sitting just over there who can do it beautifully. Right. So I delegate to them. And I have a system in place that allows me to keep an eye on where that task is up to. So I know if it's getting behind a little bit, I can sort of get in touch and say, hey guys, have we got a problem here? Can I help? Do we need some more resource? What's going on? It's not happening on the timeline we thought it would happen on. Okay. So when you've got a system that will give you that sort of power in your business, use it. Goodness me. Okay. Dive in, set them up and drive it along. Now, there we go. Now we still have some time. So what I'll do, there's my contact details. For those of you who haven't dealt with me in the past, for those of you who are watching this at home, if you've got questions, shoot me an email. All right, I'm happy to receive emails from workshops and webinars, run through some questions with you, send you the templates. If you want the cash flow budgeting template, shoot me a note. I'll email it off to you today. No dramas at all. Okay. Now we do have some time up our sleeve. So what I would like to do is firstly, I'm going to turn off that. Okay, that can go away. There we go. Awesome. Now, sorry, just get a few things out of the way. Right, we've got some time here. So how do we have a bit of a Q&A? All right, feel free to open your mic up. If you've got any questions about today's workshop, fire up now and we'll see what sort of answers we can deliver in the next 10 or 15 minutes. All right. Okay, we have, yeah, oh, hang on. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, you can simply unmute. Yep.
Hi,
Yeah, hey, Jackie,
hi,
how you doing?
Jackie here. Look, I've got a question. I'm just starting up in business,
Yep,
and I started on a shoestring budget, just
yep.
sort of taking it out of. I didn't have a big pot of money. I
Mhm.
just started off initially with $1,000. So, and trying to build on that, and I'm doing all of these things to try and learn how to optimize my use of social media and whatnot.
Mhm.
So at what stage, just plodding along, because while I haven't I started in September
Mhm.
and I've had a few sales.
Mhm.
So at what stage do you should realistically, starting out as I did, should I start to sort of see a bit of a return? Because I've been monitoring like things like followers, and I've had maybe all up since then, I've probably invested about $3,000 now,
Mhm.
and I think I've received a third of that back in sales.
Okay.
So I'm still not making a profit yet at startup in September.
Okay. Okay. It is possibly making a profit because that 3,000 is, unless that 3,000 is all expense for this year. But without being glib, honestly, the answer is how long is a piece of string? Right? Every business is different. There are some businesses that don't actually make a profit for a couple of years, where they're constantly investing and building and building and reinvesting money and building until they are cash flow positive and they're profitable. Okay, there are other businesses that make a profit virtually from day one because they're a very low cost operation, or they've got a very high market demand for their solution. Okay, so it really depends on what you're doing, what your target market is like, what resources you have to drive yourself to that market and solve their problems. Okay, now the best way, and this is, yeah, the best way to deal with this is talk about investment. If I have you actually registered with the Digital Solutions Program, Jackie?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
Yes, no, and I also have I have an AVN. I have a full-time job that I do, and then
Yep.
I have this full-time other job that I'm doing with an e-commerce store that I'm starting up.
Okay. Okay. So I would suggest if you sit down, hang on a second, I'm just cheating here because I can. Da, 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 da,
I mean, I've done all of my little business plan and you know all of that stuff, my
right.
scope, and I have all of these things in place, like my contact lists and
Yep.
all of those things. I have what my goals, what I'm trying to work
Yep.
towards, which I'm slowly, it's slow, but I'm progressing that. And some of that stuff is just like building on my followers on social media, like Instagram and Facebook.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Um, yeah,
Okay.
so
All right. What I'm going to do for you, I'm going to email you a link for the actual digital solutions program. Like I see you've done a ton of the webinars, but if you register with the program, you'll actually get 3 hours with one of our advisors.
no, I've done that. I've got to see Sarah T. I was booked with her on the 13th and the 15th, but
Ah,
I was one of the ones that was booked in. I had a double up. So she's had to cancel those and then
isn't that interesting?
and
Because yep,
send me a
okay.
new.
I was just looking here before, and there's actually no notes to that effect on your file. That's intriguing. Okay, that's fine. All right, that's probably the best approach is to dive into that
Yeah,
and work out a strategy from there. But if you're operating on a very low cost basis and you're not profitable yet, that to me sounds very much like a it's a pure customer number issue.
yeah,
All right, you really just need to convert the people who are looking at what you're doing into actual paying customers.
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, with what you do, are you geographically restricted in terms of servicing, or are you simply do you have the ability to sell Australia-wide?
I have the ability to sell Australia-wide because it's an e-commerce store. So I guess my biggest thing was being a private person before. I didn't have a big, huge Facebook, people. I think I had something like 70 people on my Facebook and, even less on my Instagram, and then having to then come in and then open up all of this and build on that, which is my focus at the moment while I'm,
Right. Okay, here's the thing. You've got sessions booked with Sarah. That's great.
Yeah.
If you've got you get 3 sessions. If you get one spare, go online, book it with me, and we'll actually map out a strategy for you.
Yeah, great.
Okay, that's simple. Happy to do that.
Yeah. My other question was that link to your budget, do you have any recommendations on any free financial management tools? I may have overlooked that. As I said, I'm sort of working full time as well. So, I haven't at the moment, while I have all my invoices and that, I don't have an actual ledger that's running that. So, I couldn't draw on
yes. I have a basic cash book that I have for some of my clients, which is based on a quarterly P&L on a cash basis. It's built for people to do their BAS when they haven't got a full-on accounting system in place.
Yeah.
Okay. And for everybody else who's listening, if that's something you would like to tap into, shoot me an email. Okay. The address was on the last slide, and I'll email that back to you. Okay. You can dive into that, and away we go. Okay.
Sure. Thank you.
No dramas. Now, I've got a question here in the chat from Victoria. My accountant told me as a sole trader, I can't take a wage as such. So what do I call it, and how do I factor that into my break even? Victoria, that is actually an awesome question. Thank you very much for asking. I didn't even think of that. Thank you very much for asking that. Okay. All right. You're a sole trader. Okay. I'd be happier if you were incorporated from a minimising tax expense point of view and from some legal protection. But anywho, how much do you want to make, Victoria? What do you think is a reasonable wage for what you do? Number one. Okay. Write that down. When you're doing your cash flow, okay, there'll be one. There will be a row you can put in there for directors' wages or owners' wages. Put it in there and allow for it. Okay, actually factor it into your break even, the amount that you want to earn for that for the year. Okay, it's as simple as that. Okay, it doesn't have to be an actual proper wage where you're taking tax out of it. It's just how much you want to earn, make that one of your expense items. Simple as that. Okay. Now, we still have a little bit of time. Are there any other questions, or should we just wrap this up and get on with our day planning what we're going to do in 2023? All right. All said, all done. Awesome. Thank you very much for attending today, everybody. As you'll be aware, this is one of our digital solutions webinars brought to you by AusIndustry and Business Station. And thank you very much for their support. And for those of you who did make it today, please enjoy the recording. And any other questions, fire away, shoot me an email, and we'll go from there. But other than that, have a great day. Have an awesome 2023. I'll be running more workshops around this planning series for the next 3 months. So I look forward to seeing you there, and we can dive into how we're going to have a great year. So cheers, everybody. Thank you for your attendance.